us now for more on these developments. Ronald Chapman, constitutional attorney and federal defense lawyer. Ronald, welcome back to the show. Appreciate you having you here. It really was kind of a really fascinating day politically. You have the border visit, you have Mitch McConnell, you have the Supreme Court now really asserting itself in this election. I'm curious. Most legal analysts that I have listened to and read have said that the appellate court there in D.C. kind of wrote an airtight, unassailable ruling in this case, denying Trump's claims of immunity. And they were a little surprised the Supreme Court jumped in both on the merits of the case and on the inevitable effect on the trial, which is a pretty massive delay here. What is your take? Are you surprised the court said, "Yep, we're gonna take on this case ourselves"?
I'm not surprised at all. The reality is that when we have such an important national issue in front of us, the Supreme Court usually wants to speak on it. A D.C. decision alone usually isn't the strength of precedent that we want going forward. And remember, the Supreme Court decides cases for history. It may be 50 or 100 years before a case like this is revisited, so they want to chime in. It appears here that the Supreme Court is looking at the issue of whether or not he has immunity for actions taken in his official capacity, which is a little bit more limited review of the D.C. decision than I ordinarily would have thought. But I'm not surprised they were going to take up this case. I expected them to.
A CNN poll shows more than 60% of Americans want to see a verdict in the election fraud case before the general election. And the truth of the matter is, with all of this that's going on, it could push it back, like I mentioned, to just before, during, or right after, not necessarily giving voters the benefit of a guilty verdict or not, right? How do you see this timeline playing out?
This is a very complicated situation. We have, I believe, a briefing date of March 19th. We have an oral argument date of April 22nd, at least the week of April 22nd. And then the court is definitely going to issue an opinion by its June recess. The question there is there going to be enough time to try this complex case that Jack Smith has? I expected this case to have taken a very long time to try, and I'm not so sure that the time period between June, when the ultimate decision comes out, and the general election is going to give Jack Smith and the defense enough time to actually put on a trial. So it is going to be difficult, if not impossible, to actually try this case before the general election. Then the other question is, could they even start a case if they can't finish it by the general election? Could Donald Trump be in trial as the incoming president of the United States, which would be a very bizarre situation?
But to be clear, the Supreme Court decides its own calendar and can move as quickly or slowly as it chooses. There's not a lot of governing that other than the 9 Supreme's preferences. They acted very quickly on the ballot case. They're not acting quickly on this case. They could have honored Special Counsel Jack Smith's request to go over the appeals court and jump right in. They didn't want to do that. They arbitrarily decided the week of April 22nd for oral arguments. They could have done it sooner than that. So I just want to emphasize the point here. They have discretion here, and they understand what's at stake. They live in the same country. They're human beings too, despite the black robe. They know what's at stake here. They could move as quickly or not as they want to.
That's correct. I mean, Bush v. Gore, I think, was just a couple of days before they proceeded. They went incredibly quickly there. We're obviously seeing a slower pace here. It does suggest that the court is taking a bit more time. You know, the question for us is that delay attributed to trying to give Trump some benefit so he doesn't have to go to trial, or is that delay solely related to the amount of time that it takes to brief and argue this very difficult decision? I think we've got competing issues on both sides. Jack Smith wants to race a trial forward faster than most criminal trials go, and obviously Donald Trump is trying to slow it down as much as possible.
Incredible implications either way. I mean, this is potentially huge impacts on our election and moving forward. Constitutional attorney and federal defense lawyer Ronald Chapman, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.